Hey everyone, you know, this is going to be a taste review, and for the most part, all my taste review has been kept to mangoes that has been grown in my backyard or my friend's backyard. So kind of these backyard California mangoes. I decided this time to kind of do a review on imported mangoes, and specifically these are going to be imported Indian mangoes. And the reason I thought I was going to do that is this: I've been kind of buying these mangoes at the stores for the last 3-4 years now, and for the most part, most of the times, like I have one or two different varieties here, but this year it seems to be a pretty bountiful year, I guess. Seems like there was probably a bumper crop in India because there was quite a few different varieties that I have not seen showed up in the markets that showed up before, and the prices of the boxes has been kind of going down. The first week that it showed up in the market, it was probably about $5 more expensive, and it's been going down. So, I do recommend some of you guys that have never tasted any mango to kind of go out there and check it out. So that's what this is kind of for, kind of give you guys a little bit of a basis of which mangoes to look for, which ones I recommend, which ones you kind of want to try, because they aren't cheap. I mean, they aren't cheap compared to like like a Kent or a keep mango that you find, or those long yellow or toffle mangoes that you find, like the champagne, honey bunny brands. Usually it's about a box of mangoes is about anywhere from 40 to like $45. Last year it was like $50 a box, and maybe the mangoes you get about 12 mangoes, and they're pretty small mangoes. And I think I weighed it before. I think it was about average about 6 pounds. I think 6 pounds a box or something like that. Might be wrong, but don't quote me on that. But I thought that was what it kind of came out to. But they're very very good mangoes. Just kind of know what you're kind of getting into. In terms of the flavors, some of them is a bit more inconsistent quality, so I'm going to recommend just kind of for you guys to go out there and buy some if you never have, and which one I would recommend you guys buy. So let's start off with the mangoes that you'll probably find in the store. The two that you'll probably most commonly find in the markets, and right now it's Indian mango season, and it usually lasts till about June. So it's a good time to check it out. And like I said, I think this is a bumper crop year, and the prices of the box is pretty reasonable. Like an Alphonso was $40 a box. The Kesar was like $35 a box. Compared to that last year when it was like hitting like $50 a box for like an Alphonso, and like 45 for a Kesar. So it's a good time to try it out. But again, it's kind of a bit pricey. So that's why I'm trying to go through these varieties for you to, if you guys have the budget for it, or you want to try which one I recommend. Okay, the most famous Indian mangoes, that Indian variety, and it's world famous. It's probably the most famous one that everyone's heard of if you kind of at least interested a little bit in mango. Is Alphonso, and this is the Alphonso mango. You know, it's always looks very pretty. Like it always has this yellow color to it. It always looks nice, but it is one of the most inconsistent quality mangoes I can say. Lots of time it has like some sort of internal breakdown issues, almost like it's rotting from inside out. So when you buy a box of them, they're usually the most expensive one too, and lots of time a good chunk of the mangoes are like not really that edible. So not one I recommend for you guys to start out with, but one that if you find out that you like some of the other ones, that I would say to give it a shot, just because it is when you get a good one, it's a great one. Next up is a Kesar mango. This is the Kesar. Sometimes sometimes they're a bit more yellow, especially when you get later into the season. But usually it's kind of like this yellowish greenish color, And I love the consistent quality of this mango, and this is the one I really recommend to you guys to give it a shot. to kind of figure out if you like or not like a mango, because this is good, even slightly underripe. It's good, even overripe. So it's a really consistent quality. There never anything wrong with the flesh or anything like that. It's always great. So I definitely recommend this one. The Kesar is definitely one I recommend you guys should try out first. Okay, so Kesar, Kesar. That's this one. Next up is one I've seen for the first time this year. Haven't had it before, so maybe I've missed it in the prior seasons before. But it is called Payari. So Payari. From what I've tasted so far of this, I believe this is probably what is sometimes also called Payari, Paheri. Kind of hear that sometimes in the U.S. Also called Bombay. Also called Piri in Hawaii, Piri. So that's what I think it is, because that flavor component I had definitely falls in that group. So far the ones I had of it has been pretty good. Pretty good. No issue with flesh or anything like that. The flavor is right there. And this one's a very famous one. This one is Banganapalli. I had this a couple years back. Also, it seems to show up in the market, at least in my area, like briefly. Don't you see it for like a couple weeks and it just disappears, right? But every time I do see it, not every time, but a couple years back when I had this, it always seems to be a bit, quite a bit underripe. It has a nice kind of terpenes aroma to it. Probably one of my most favorite of it. For example, like because it's so underripe, but then the flesh consistency is there. Like it has the flesh consistency of a ripe mango, but you could tell it's underripe because the flesh is cut into the flesh is like almost pale white, and then every now and then you get a more decent one. It's like this nice yellow, but it's definitely not a pale flesh variety. So, and because of that, it lacks a lot of sweetness, but then it has still has that nice strong aroma to it. Like the aroma is so strong, and I like it. Even though there's no sweetness, I could eat one if I eat one of this first, like a Banganapalli first, and then I eat a Kesar. I lose all that terpenes in that Kesar, because the Kesar terpenes, I guess, it's a bit mild in this. Like the Kesar to me has a lot of saffron components to it, like cooking spice. Okay, so that's the only thing with it. So if you guys are gonna go try an Indian mango for the first time, go get yourself a Kesar. This is what I recommend. This one's been pretty consistent too, so I probably would recommend the Kesar. You find this, you may want to try, may not want to try, I'm not sure, but the Kesar is definitely one you want to try. And then if you like the Kesar, then you could kind of expand into the other one. Definitely try this if you find it, Payari. And then the other two, Alphonso and Banganapalli, you can or cannot try it. Alphonso is a good, but it's like hit and miss. So sometimes you're paying premium dollars for a variety that's just a box of mangoes that's just kind of not, the quality is just not there. Okay, so I'm trying to think of how the best way to kind of start this off. I think I'm gonna finish this one last, even though this is the mildest sweetness. I thought it had one of the stronger aromas, So I'm not really sure how this one will fall in the taste. I know I have to probably try this one last, even though it's probably very mild or barely any sweetness, but it has that really strong aroma to it. I'm not sure where this falls, so I'm trying to think maybe if I should go with this last or this one last. So, but definitely I'm probably going to start off with the Alphonso first, because it has a bit more sub-acidity to it than the Kesar. Lots of cooking spice. When I say cooking spice, I'm talking about like saffron and fennel and that kind of stuff. Sometimes I don't taste the fennel, but people have told me that it's there. For example, I don't taste that in a Alphonso or a Kesar, but I've had friends that have tasted a Kesar, and they said that they taste the kind of fennel licorice component to it. I never tasted it with it, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing or anything like that. To me, the one Indian variety that has that strong licorice fennel taste is found in the U.S. Sometimes called Iman Pasan, Anuppur Banashan. Ice cream has a little bit of that too, and so I love it. I mean, I don't like licorice as a flavor itself, but when I had that in a mango, not these mango, but when I had that in a mango, I thought it was one of the most top-notch flavors I had. So that's why I'm kind of mentioning this as kind of cooking spice for these two. This one is, from what I had been able to tell so far, it has a bit more of that pininess to it. So these are cooking spice. You don't have that strong terpenes, but you don't have that bit of pininess, kind of like a Christmas tree kind of smell to it, And for some folks, that might just sound awful, and for some folks, that might sound really pleasant. I've liked it. To me, I've liked that. I've liked that kind of pininess to it. It's been very good, and it's kind of like a pleasant kind of Christmassy. You don't think of eating pines. It doesn't sound very pleasant, but it's a nice. It works out. It's really nice. But I know some people that's very sensitive to it, and they will probably describe it more as pine saw. When for me, I kind of think of like a little bit of a Christmas tree. And this one is a bit more like, I haven't been able to kind of pinpoint all the aromas in a Banganapalli, but it's very aromatic, and it doesn't have a strong cooking spice, but I can't really pinpoint what it is, exactly. It's just been a little bit of everything. Okay, so let's cut one up and let's begin. I'll probably try to taste test it a bit and kind of give you guys an idea, at least my opinion of what the flavors are. Okay, let's wish us the best of luck on this Alphonso, because lots of times I cut into one of these, the inside just doesn't look pleasant. So let's see. Okay, not too bad, but you could really begin to see it breaking down a bit already. It's like this kind of mushiness in the middle. That's what kind of happens. Let me try to show it to you a bit more, and the color would be a little bit off, and the texture would definitely be off. So this one's not bad. I had somewhere it's like the only good part was like this outside right here. So this looks pretty good so far. Looks good, Alphonso kind of has that saffron taste. It's a bit more firmer flesh than the Kesar. Bit more sub-acidity to it too. So to me, sometimes it's like a Kesar with a bit more citrus component to it. That's why I do really like it. I just hate the quality issues that I run into on the Alphonso. Yeah, you could see right here some of that breaking down. And usually it was bad enough, I kind of cut it off, Okay, cheers. I'm gonna kind of break it out like this. In terms of ripeness, this is right where I like it. This was very good. Alphonso is one where if you do kind of cut into it before it like gets a little bit too soft, There's a strong acidity note to it that you may or may not enjoy that much, but when it's kind of right on, it has like a nice citrusy sub-acidness to it. You know, a lot of cooking spice, not too strong in any of those areas. Not in terms of like one strong cooking spice note, but very good. So that's Alphonso. Here's Kesar, and like I say, Kesar is absolutely one of the most consistent producing variety. There is a bit of fiber. It's not that noticeable. Okay, I just cut into this. This is a bit too underripe. It should have a much more closer orange kind of flesh component to it than this. Let me see how it is. Let me cut into this and see how the flavor is. Still good tasting. A little lemony, but still the strong saffron component to it. That's why I say you can't really go wrong with Kesar even when you try to eat it underripe, because it's still very, very pleasant. Like Alphonso, if it's slightly underripe, it's way too tart. This one is just like kind of lemony tart. Very good. Very strong saffron aftertaste to it. That kind of sticks in your mouth for a long time. Let it kind of, it's usually much more juicier than this. So the best way for the Kesar, kind of like to tell when it's ripe, you kind of just leave it on the counter, right? Leave it on the counter. And if the weight of the own fruit itself kind of causes like an indentation on the fruit, then you know it's kind of good to eat. This one has not done that yet. So I kind of cut this a little bit too early. It was still very pleasantly good. You could probably tell much more clearly on the camera the difference in color. So this is not a normal Kesar color. Kesar is definitely much more closer to this orange. You know, it is pretty much an orange color like this, not this kind of light color. So this one's definitely underripe. But like I say, even at this underripe stage, the acidity to it is just still very pleasant. And I would recommend for you guys, for most of these mangoes, well, for the case, I kind of just leave on the counter. Lots of time it does change a lot to a bit more yellow color, and then there's like an indentation caused by its own weight. That's how you kind of eat a Kesar. So unfortunately, this is the one I really recommend for you guys to get. And unfortunately, this one is not ripe yet. And I am looking in my box, and they are still kind of at this stage, unfortunately. And I'm trying to do this while I have all these varieties with me right now. Okay, now to the next one. This is where I'm not sure which one I should be going with first. The Payari ones I've had so far, very, very good sweetness to it. So a little bit firmer flesh. It feels a bit more firmer flesh. This coloring on the fruit seems to be common on it like this. You know, so okay, let me go with this one next then. Okay, so here's how it looks like. I think I'm gonna have to grab a sharper knife for myself. This seems a little bit dull. I need to kind of sharpen this. It's a flesh. It's more on the orangey side. It's never, the ones I've had, it was never as dark orange as a Kesar or an Alphonso. That was very delicious. And so far this season, I thought this has been my most favorite so far. This Payari. The flavor component I would describe as a little bit of cooking spice and a little bit of floriness to it. But there's a piney kind of note to it that you don't find in either of the other three mangoes. There was one thing I forgot to note on these. The Alphonso and the Kesar, there's a floral kind of bouquet, kind of flower notes to it. You know, like a saffron, a point on saffron. On Kesar, for example, has like a strong, like saffron bouquet flower notes to it. Definitely not the same kind of floralness that you kind of find like in a Thai kind of honey kind of floral notes, but it's more like a just like a cooking spice and floralness. It's really good. So, yep, this was this has been my favorite so far this year. This Payari. Okay, so if you see in the market, it's been spelled Payari. Okay, up next, Banganapalli, very famous one. I'm gonna cut into this and see how it is. Most of the ones I've been cutting into so far, it's been kind of pale white flesh. It just has been very, yeah, you could kind of see it right here. Very. This one's a little bit worse than other because there seems to be some kind of breakdown on it and stuff, like some kind of black splotching on it. Most of the time, it's been very kind of pale, like. It's just not there. So lots of times you get some color on the edges, and nothing in the middle. I love the aroma of this one though. Very, very nice aroma. It's like strong, but it's like probably wouldn't offend anybody, even someone who, you know, I could see how some of the cooking spice could be a bit too strong or maybe unpleasant for people, but I don't think this one would be. I don't know how to describe this one really well. Yeah. This one is the most mildest sweetness, and that's because I don't think it's being picked at the right peak moment. It's just more like this kind of very mild melony taste. It's one I wish one day I get a chance to kind of sample one that's like peak ripeness. Okay, well, that's about it right now. I mean, these are all the varieties I've kind of shown you guys. I am going to finish this one up because I'm going to show you guys the seed and how lots of the seeds on the Indian mangoes are like. Let me just cut this one up. This one's very, oh, my knife is dull. I'm gonna have to sharpen this after this video. Sorry for that slurping noise. But here's an example of a lot of the Indian seeds. It's kind of round, very plump, very large compared to like even some of the classic Florida mangoes. Extremely hard to dehusk. The reason why is like there's almost no empty space cavity in this, and at the same time you can't germinate any of these anyways. These are all been irradiated, so almost all the mangoes I've seen so far from India has been irradiated. So you could try sprouting it, none of them will sprout. At best they would try to kind of put out a taproot and then just completely stops and dies off. And with that said, they're also extremely incredibly hard to dehusk because of how large the embryo is, and how little kind of space in between the embryo and the seed husk there is. You find this in a lot of the Indian mangoes, like the pure Indian kind of genetic mangoes, like a Bombay is like that. Um, a Bombay from Florida is like that. So you see that often. Some of the hybrids is a bit more different. You kind of find a bit more like kind of space in it, so it makes it easier to dehusk. But like I said, you can't germinate this anyway, so don't lose a finger trying to dehusk any of these seeds. Okay. So, with that said, that's the end of this review. I'm gonna be enjoying these mangoes. I'm gonna be enjoying the rest of these mangoes, And like I said, so far my favorites this year has been the Payari, and I am not sure if that's because it's the first time I had it. I mean, I had a Bombay from Florida before. It has a lot of same flavor components as some of the Florida mangoes you could kind of find from Florida, like a Bombay, probably the Piri, even like a Saint Talone guava mango from Burma has a bit of that same kind of pininess note too. That's really really nice and pleasant. Has a lot of that. I'm not sure if that's my favorite because I haven't had it in a while, and I've kind of been having Kesar like every year. But it's either Kesar or this one. I don't know how long term, but Kesar definitely has been one of my favorites, just how consistent it's been. Okay, well, that's the review, guys. Thanks.